Everybody, it's Jeremy. Welcome back to Pokemon Crystal, where we are playing Ecruteak City. It is turn 12. Let's jump into things. Alright, so it is the end of the first year. Fantastic. Okay, so let's get through this and look at how we've done. Finish Construction 2. Finish Thaumaturgy 1. Running up Thaumaturgy for a couple of levels, probably. Got a proclamation from Viridian City for a new prophet. Basalt Heart, the Pale One Commander. Interesting. We got a couple of battles. Let's check them. Battle here in Falm. This is our little 50 stack trying to expand in the southwest. And oof. That is more far-fetched than I would have preferred. Far-fetched with their Air Slash is kind of dangerous for us. Pidgeys with their Gust, also kind of dangerous. It might actually be the Pidgeys that are more dangerous in that situation because they have a higher precision. Anyways, let's see how this goes. The Zubats fly in, die almost immediately. The gunfight starts. We are losing the gunfight. You can see our numbers start to get shredded. We are putting people to sleep, etc., etc. And I think at this point I've kind of like come to realize that I need to be portioning my armies differently. So I've been doing basically, if you have a ranged attack, you're on range, and if you don't have a ranged attack, you're not on range. That seems to be very lopsided. So there's a way that I think is better to divvy out the armies, so we're gonna look at that in the future. Okay, so we lose in Falm, lost 30 Ghastlies. We did kill a good chunk of the province defense, or of the Indies, and these aren't gonna respawn, so that'll be easier for us to take it next time. It's still gonna be tough because there's so many Farfetch'd and Pidgeys, but I think we have a good idea of what to do about that. We are attacked in Kebin, and I say attacked, but really this is just him coming back and taking this back from us. Little 1 PD. And this is an interesting kind of like example of what's going on here. Because we see again, he just has a crap ton of these Ruby White Belts, which are very meh units that are not going to stack up well against ours. They're going to have a very hard time hurting us, along with the Mankeys. He does have a Battle Girl X back here that has 3 Earth. Cool. Get some good buffs with that. We see Earth Might is what's being cast, which is not very high. But the Hitmonlees come in, assassinate our Province Defense Commander, and after that it's simple easy. So they lose nothing for that. Check Earth Might here in a second. We have a battle in Larian Swamps where we are raiding his territory some more. Little 15 stack or so. And this is somewhat dicey, right, because of the size of the stack. It's not very big, and flyers like this could come in and pop our Kimono Woman pretty easily. Our ghosts are difficult to kill in the right circumstances. Our commanders are not at all. So that's just something to worry about in the future. And after that, this is mostly just, you know, a very weird noodle fight, wet noodle fight. But we get them. And we lose 1 Ghastly for it, so no big deal. We have an unexpected event in Forest of Adune. A witch was caught while suffering her sentence of death by lapidation. She uttered a dark curse over the land. So it's Fortune 3 and Magic +2, which is unfortunate. We finished the construction of Fortified Village in Wesh this turn, and we got 2 units promoted in various locations. Alright, so what is going on this turn? This turn's actually pretty simple, right? We are going to continue our progress on raiding Cyanwood City's territory. I was hoping we were going to get up here and maybe find a person still building, a commander still building something, and maybe be able to pop it, but Wood City has dropped down a fort on Swamp of Solitude before we could do that, protecting the Throne of Knowledge. So we're actually just going to attack Dofaros over here with Kimono 6. Kimono 5 is sneaking into Greenwoods, and this is legitimately just the process of elf raiding, right? Is just ping, 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 bouncing all over the place. So what else is happening this turn? Hey, Odie. What else is happening this turn, Odie? We've got Kimono 4 is moving, not stealthing, but moving into Dumna, and that's on the off chance that he feels frisky with this little party here. I think this is actually just remnants of when I fought him previously, but it might be something more. So if he does move something into Dumna, we're prepared to counter with Kimono 4, right? Kimono 4 is built out, and as you can see, it's built out a little more differently than what we have been doing in the past. As you can see, we've only got 25 units on hold and fire. We've got 53 units on hold and attack. So what's the change? Basically, the change is if it's got Shadow Ball or if it's got Hex, right? Both damaging moves, both ranged damaging moves, then it's on firing squad, okay? So, if it doesn't have one of those two, for example, if it has something like Confuse Ray, this weapon is sometimes used in melee, right? Or... no, that's still Confuse Ray. No, that's Lick. Oh, that's so confusing. The other ones. That's Lick. Hypnosis, there we go. So if it's like his Hypnosis, this weapon is sometimes used in melee. Basically, the distinction was if they have a ranged attack, and that ranged attack, if their only ranged attack is this weapon is sometimes used in melee, I'm just putting them in the melee. So we have way more melee units than we did previously. There are a couple of crossovers, right? Like our Haunters here, they have Hypnosis, which is melee, but they also have Shadow Ball. So I'm leaving them in the back because it's Shadow Ball, right? 2, I'm leaving them in the back because they're Haunters, and I would rather keep getting them experience and promoting them. So I think this is going to work out pretty interestingly, right? I think that part of the issue that we faced in a couple of the defeats, like the defeat down here in Foam, I think if the bulk of our force had moved forward to engage the Pidgeys and Farfetch'd in melee combat, we would have had an advantage there. The Farfetch'd, for example, do have more attacks in melee, right? But those attacks are, they're not magic, right? So they're going to get affected by Ethereal, so harder to deal with there. They're going to get, I think, affected by Invisibility more, right? And then they've got to deal with, like, Sleep Auras and things like that, right? So Invisibility is... yeah, so gives any melee attackers -10 to their attack skill, unless they have Spirit Sight. So in these big ranged combats, we have multiple different like layers of defense on our Ghastlies, right? And in these, we've got Invulnerable, right? We've got Ethereal, we've got Invisible, we've got Sleep Aura. But in these ranged combats, especially against magic ranged combat, we're not getting the benefit of really any of our stuff, right? Because Invulnerability is just against mundane weapons, so that goes away. Ethereal doesn't care, it only works against non-magic, so that goes away. Invisibility is only affecting melee attacks, so that goes away. Sleep Aura is only going to hit people who are in range for the Sleep Aura, so that goes away. So outside of melee, we're losing all of these defensive buffs, so we absolutely want to put more of our forces in melee. So that's kind of the layout of the situation. But that's not to say that having a ranged portion isn't good. That's why I still want, like, these hexers and these shadow ballers, right? Because this still hits decently hard, and it still does things that we're not going to be able to trigger in melee, right? It still does fright, you know, which is good, and hex does... Oh, it's just armor negating, so that's another big deal, right? It's not armor piercing, it's armor negating. Oh, so is Shadow Ball. So those are actually really good attacks to have, right? Is armor negating attacks, period. So we don't wanna not have those. We just want more of a focus on our melee forces. We want a robust enough melee force to be able to handle things. So this is a pretty big force of Ghastlies going out. It's again gonna be more of a raiding force, but my plan is to try to catch this big stack, right? If I can anticipate where he is moving this big stack, and I can catch him, I think we absolutely can wipe out these white belts, this big stack of white belts, and then I think Cyanwood City's in trouble, you know? So that's the plan for Kimono 4. Also, what we're doing is we're just flexing the muscles of our spawn rates here. So, yeah. We have completed our fortification and temple in Wesh. Alright. We are starting a new fortified village in Anvast. And probably not this next turn. I say probably not. Definitely not this next turn, but the turn after. Right? So this turn, we're searching with Red Chan in Wesh. And then next turn, we'll probably move Red Chan if she can move, because she's could be crazy. We'll probably move Red Chan to Anvast, and then we will probably put a temple, and then we'll probably search, or maybe search and then a temple, depending on how we want things to coincide. But it's turn 12. We have paid for our next fort, so 3 forts up and paid for, 2 temples up and paid for. Another fort paid for but not up. That's pretty good as far as infrastructure goes on such a tight budget, right? That's pretty fucking good. I'm relatively happy with that. I'm not super happy with the lay of the land as far as like how many provinces we have lost or how much time we have lost. I'm not happy about losing out in Donnermark. I'm not happy about losing the Sea of Mermaids to a random event, especially when we're luck 3. The loss in Falm is unfortunate, and then getting messed with by Cyanwood City is also annoying, right? But I think we turn out okay, right? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So we have 15 that are kind of core, 16 if we count one that we have taken recently, which I don't really. 15 is definitely under where I wanted to be. I wanted to be closer to 18 to 20. I definitely thought that, I know, right? I've done the expansion multiple times. So you can definitely get an easy 18 to 20 on Ecruteak. But for the fact that this is a multiplayer game and we're dealing with, interestingly constrained borders, etc., I'm not too upset about how it's turned out. It's been okay, We had a couple of really lucky streaks that I think are fortunate, and then we had a couple of weird unlucky scenarios. But I think in the end we came out pretty decently, and especially I think we might be matched up with a good opponent in Cyanwood City. I know the power of Cyanwood City, but I don't know. I did this last game with Cyanwood City too. I did not take magic weapons as like a bless or anything, and I think I've said this multiple times, but if the player for Ecruteak City had stayed in the game and not gone AI, or if the AI had just been, had just decided to target me, there was a bump very early on that I had with the AI, right? If the AI had taken that as an affront and just been like, okay, time to kill Cyanwood City, I think they would have just wasted me. Because I do not think I would have been able to defend myself in time. Right? So, it's real early. It's turn 12 and we're already at war with Cyanwood City. I don't know. I haven't seen much from them yet. But I don't know what they're going to do. I honestly don't. And I'm going to try to put the pressure on very quickly. So, what else are we doing this turn? We're moving people around. We're getting to that point to where I don't want to cover every single little thing. We're moving around people to site search. We're moving around Kimono 3 to continue to pick up loose ghosts here or there. The biggest thing is what we are trying to do, the truffle shuffle between our forts, right? We're moving Kimono 1 into Ecruteak City. There's going to be close to 50 or 60 units here next turn, so Kimono 1 will pick those up, and then the turn after, they will likely move to Gol Amrod, or they'll just move straight up here through Anvast and Waywoods, right? Because we can just stealth through, and they'll be going into Cyanwood City's territory from there. So the goal now is basically to try to get to that point to where every turn I'm spawning close to a full army, and it's just a matter of like picking that army up in the different locations. So like a turn would be is if we recruited a kimono woman in Wesh, right, on one turn, and then that recruitment picks up 20 something units, and then they head to Ecruteak City, they get another 30 units, and then they head to Anvast and they get another 20 units, right? That's basically them just picking up a full army that is free spawned on their way to their target, and that's the goal. That's the repeated goal, is to create a ring of fortifications that as I'm spawning commanders, they're just moving to where they need to move to, right? And picking up their army as they go. To where I'm basically, I've got a new army on the move pretty much every turn. We're pretty close to that. Just with 3 fortifications. I think with Anvast, that'll really seal the deal. The problem with it is if we take a look at this nearly full army, 78 out of 80, this entire, even including these 2 individuals, right? This entire force has 44 siege strength. I could potentially beat the snot out of Cyanwood City and just not be able to siege them down. So this is kind of like one of the downsides that I'm dealing with, right? Money is a very weird issue for Ecruteak. They've got the Asphodel problem, and then they've got a very, I don't know, that I don't know if anyone has this problem in the actual game, in the vanilla game. Maybe Vadihheim has this problem, right? In general, and I think in one of the mods, not vanilla, but one of the mods, I think there's like a Hoburg nation, right? So maybe they have this as an issue, but just we've got no siege strength. I'm really considering, right, going into Corpseman construction, just because Corpseman constructs are going to give us that siege strength. I'm not going to do it right now, because I think we need the fucking whatchamacallit first. Oh, did I not do this? This is my bad. I think I legitimately forgot to add on to our research. So we're probably going to hit Thaumaturgy 2 next turn and Conjuration 1. Does Conjuration 1 give us anything? Not really. It gives us Black Spirits for scouts, so we don't have to use or Black Servants. but that's not really something that I think is... This is actually not bad. 3 province range, shiny haunter, assassination. So that's something. So we'll probably actually grab that. We'll snag that next turn, since we're going to be doing an unintentional dip into conjuration. We'll probably grab that next turn. I say that this turn's already sent off. I'm doing this turn after the fact. So what else are we doing? We're recruiting another junior trainer boy, and we're recruiting another kimono woman to kind of like keep up another kimono woman. We're just keeping up the commanders / scouts. We want to flood Cyanwood City's territory. We want to find a good engagement against their white belts, this stack, and we want to pop it. There is still the matter of their god, right? The incredibly scary fucking Snorlax, right? But I think the issue with the Snorlax, I think the legitimate problem with them is fatigue. And I think we're gonna fatigue the shit out of them. Like, is not a high armor target, so we'll be able to hit. It's just a matter of fatiguing him and then hammering on him, So I actually think we've got a pretty decent chance, just like a pretty decent inherent base chance of doing good against the Snorlax. I could be wrong, though. Also, we're talking about all this focus on Cyanwood City. We should look at something else. So last turn we saw some very scary, like, Olivine City is over here, but they're also over here, right? Look at this fucking shit from Azalea. Azalea is down here and up here. Holy fuck. Holy shit. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 provinces away. And I'm assuming, right, it's not a straight line or anything like that. But that's scary. Azalea City is potentially either a very long noodle like this, or they're fucking very big. Also, Vermilion City is basically out of the game. They are having to go AI. They've had a very early rough game, but the player has had some medical complications, basically. So they've got to bow out. But they're at the point to where, like, if they bow out, it's probably better for them to go AI than to try to find a sub. So they've got very little going on for them. We're in a very interesting state. I'm actually really scared of Azalea City. I'm not really scared of Cyanwood. I'm really scared of Azalea City. Azalea City, it's funny. Like, the first multiplayer game I played of this mod was Azalea City. The second multiplayer game I played of this mod was Cyanwood City. And now, as Ecruteak City in my third multiplayer game of the mod, I'm fighting Cyanwood City and have Azalea City as a border. And it's like, uh-oh. Also, I've had a border with Viridian City in all 3 of those multiplayer games. So, that's just interesting. It's just doodly how that works out sometimes. Alright, I think that's going to be it for the turn. Really, that's what's going on. Hopefully Azalea City doesn't hit me here and now, because if they do, I think Azalea City is uniquely... They'll fuck me up. Azalea City will fuck me up. Almost 100% because... If we look at it, Azalea City can fuck me up basically just because of these guys. Like, 100%. Yanmas will obliterate me because of Bug Buzz. Actually, he's got some decent options on a couple of different people. Oh, Heracrosses don't have... Okay, I don't know if this was changed or not, but I remember this being magic in the past. I could be wrong. Anyways, that's going to be it for the turn. I will see you all next time. Bye, everybody.